Hello and welcome to another Pretty Good Gaming Podcast, episode number 24. Another three-man podcast and no Mike. Again, he's off this week. I'm Jake Kulkowski, joining me today, Mr. Gareth Evans.
Hello everybody.
And Mr. Liam McKelvey.
Hello.
So today, guys, we're going to be jumping into the topic of reviews and the importance they have on the industry, the pressure they've got on the industry, the pressure they've got on you as a consumer, and the pressure they've got on the people that write them. They're a giant beast that we want to tackle. We also want to talk about the long dark a little bit, fact of the week, and of course the Patreon questions. So let's just jump straight into the main topic.
Reviews.
HellBlade looks pretty good, right? It looks
does.
cool. Looks good. We made a video about how cool it looks. They saw it and they emailed us. They said, that was really good, guys. We were promised a code. We didn't get one. Nice one, Ninja Theory. So what we can talk about is the reviews, because we didn't get a chance to play it ourselves. So I woke up this morning and I checked the review, and one particularly standout review was by your boy Jim Sterling. The reason that stood out is because he gave the game a 1 out of 10 because of a bug. A game-breaking, unplayable bug. And interestingly, at the time of recording, he's now took that video down. He's tweeted, "After hours of arguing and thought, I'm displeased with how I've handled the HellBlade thing. Stand by." But it did happen. He gave the game a 1 out of 10 because of a bug, guys.
Do you want to explain to them what the bug was, and like in his words? Because you explained to us in the office this morning.
Oh, sure.
Like, what was it that caused him to give it a 1 out of 10? Because he was enjoying it up to the point where the bug
He was
occurred.
like singing its praises all the way up until this bug.
Okay. I was going to get to that in a bit, but I'll go into it now, right? So, yeah, he was enjoying the game. He outwardly said that he was looking at giving it maybe an 8 out of 10. He was saying he was getting the feelings of a strong 7 to a light 8. And then there's a part in the game where you enter a cave and you've got a torch, but the entrance to the cave is you have to go through a waterfall, which obviously puts out your torch. And then there's a torch sconce on the wall, and I'm assuming that you have to then light the torch again on this new torch, which the game didn't load the torch in properly, and Jim was trapped in darkness. Now, the problem with this is, in this part of the game, if you're in the darkness, your character, who's suffering from a lot of mental issues and demons and stuff, she drives herself crazy to the point of insanity, and the game ends. The game, you have to start again, yeah. Mm-hmm. And he couldn't do it. He managed to push himself through by cheesing the game enough to get to the next checkpoint, where he stood in like a ray of light, so he was safe. But then it got worse, and he was 8 hours in. He's a busy man. He didn't have another 8 hours to just go back and do it again. Maybe one thing you could do in this situation is to wait until the devs fix it. It's day one. It's only came out today. Mm-hmm. He didn't know. He didn't have the time. He didn't want to wait around. He thought, I'm going to fly with this. I'm going to give it a review of my experience with the game so far. And that's a 1 out of 10.
1 out of 10. Considering he was enjoying it to a point where he said he's giving it a 7/8 maybe at a push.
Yes.
And then because of this one game-breaking bug, which I can assume is not on everyone.
No one else has commented on it. No
Very
one else.
rare from what I've read.
Yeah.
Not many people have found it.
So because of that, it gives it a 1 out of 10. Is that an accurate reflection of how good the game is then? 1 out of 10. Do you think that that's fair?
Unless you read all of his review, you're not going to realise the reason he gave it a 1 out of 10.
Exactly, yeah.
If you just look at the number, you just go,
you're going to think this game's shit, yeah.
Exactly. Bear in mind, this is the guy that gave Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild a 7 out of 10.
And the internet lost its shit.
Yeah, exactly. More on that in a bit, actually. But so he gave that a 7, Zelda. Then he was going to give this a 7 or an 8. So he must have been really liking it, right?
Yeah. But the thing is that is 1 out of 10 a fair review? Is it what he should have done? I mean, it's his own personal experience, but like,
it's a bit too impulsive. Do you think?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what we thought. Like he's throwing the teddy out the pram. Oh, I couldn't get to finish my game, so I'm throwing. Yeah. So I'm giving it a 1 out of 10. That's how it felt like to us. And with his response, his tweet saying that he's not happy with how he dealt with it.
Yeah.
It's like on reflection.
Exactly. He's calmed down a bit.
He's calmed down a bit. He's had time to just like calm down, think it back, and go, yeah, I was a bit too impulsive on that one, wasn't I?
Let's give a bit of context about this game then, because this is by which studio?
So it's Ninja Theory, which is a British studio. It's been in the works for a very long time, and you might not notice by looking at it, because normally indie games have got a very specific look, but this is actually an independent game. Okay, the graphics look pretty awesome. You couldn't really tell this apart from a AAA game in terms of its graphical style, and it's a fairly short experience. They're pricing it at a AA price band. It's about a 10-hour long game. Jim got about 8 hours in, right?
Sorry, just a second. That was part of the pitch, though, wasn't it? It was like, we are an indie developer. We're making a AA game. We're doing it for a knockdown price from AAA games. This is what we're aiming for. But the graphics are high end. The voice acting, not the voice acting, the
motion capture.
The motion capture, again, is high end. This is some technology that's never been seen in gaming before, apparently. It's that good.
So pretty impressive stuff.
So they're very... for an indie development team, they're very pushing boundaries a lot, and they're trying to achieve something that not a lot of indie developers achieve, which is high-end graphics, high-end face capture, and all that, which should be applauded in its own right, because the vision and like what they're trying to achieve here is something tremendous. And so when you see a reviewer like Jim Sterling, who, like, loads of people follow him on YouTube. He's got over 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. Loads of people read his website. Yeah. So is it fair for him to just trash on this game because of a one little bug where, you know, he ended up getting pissed off and threw his head out the pram? Is that fair?
Do you think that the problem here is that he needed to get this review out before the embargo in his head? So rather than wait, like what we're saying would be probably the more logical thing to do, because like we're saying, day one patch something. Do you think just so he gets the hits on his website, just so he gets the views before anyone else, he has to be in that first wave of people putting out a review right now on release day and all that? Do you think that maybe that's some of the reason why he's had to fast forward this process and just put the review out there as is? Do you think that there's a pressure on these reviews to do it? Or do you think someone like Jim Sterling could put out a review in a week and people would still give a shit? Because I do. I think there's a couple of reviewers, and Jim Sterling's one of them, where he could review an old game and people would watch it. He could review he could review Half-Life 2 and people would watch it. I feel like there's this weird thing with video game critics where there's a kind of a rush to get stuff out. And let's talk about this. Let's talk about the damage that this can cause on a man's reputation. We'll come back to Jim Sterling in a minute. But if you guys have seen the Video Game Donkey video about game critics, you're going to know what I'm talking about. But recently, Crash Bandicoot, the trilogy, came out, the Insane trilogy. And notoriously pretty challenging game. Got some good reviews. One review wasn't very warm on it. When you look at the review, you find out that the guy reviewing it played half of each one of the 3 games. Is that enough to review a game? Half a game, do you think? Or do you think that's just an impression?
It's a tricky one, because if they playing halfway through a game, you're going to get the argument your opinion isn't valid because you don't have a complete experience of the game. Whereas, you know, in like a multiplayer game, you don't need that. You can play an hour or two, and a lot of people see that's enough to get a good idea of the content.
Yeah.
But with a single player game like Crash, especially when the levels get harder and harder as they progress. But he was already complaining the early levels were too hard. Yeah, I don't think it's a very good impression to put out there.
Yeah, you can never get a full, complete idea or impression of a game if you're only playing half of it, because the second half of a game might be completely different. It might be. It might not. Crash Bandicoot might not be the ideal example of it, but there might be a game where you only play a couple of hours, like Horizon Zero Dawn, for example. I'm not going to name names here, but there's the reviewers out there who played maybe only 3 or 4 hours of the tutorial mode of Horizon Zero Dawn. Give their review of the game and put it out there as a review, not a first impression. This is a full review of the game. How can that be a full review when the game's like 25 hours long? That you never get a full taste of what the game's going to offer you, because you've only just the first tutorial area of the game. It's like the embrace. It's like that's exactly what it is.
Training ground.
Training ground. So I don't think it's fair on a game for reviewers to put out a full review and calling it that. Whereas in fact it's just an early impression. It's like a impression of it.
It is. When you watch all the gameplay of videos like that, and you've played the game yourself, and you can see all the footage that's been recorded is in the first couple of hours. It's very worrying, because these people are swaying people's opinions. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about you guys a little bit. Mike is a big fan of reviews. Mike always says on the channel, if you guys are avid watchers, whenever he says, don't pre-order a game, wait for reviews, doesn't he? Right? He's clearly looking at Metacritic on day one, as is a lot of people. What about you guys? Do you guys have any reviewers that you actually do watch? Are you follow any, or you guys make your own minds up? What do you...
Probably for me, Eurogamer are a big one. They usually go quite in-depth for their reviews. You know, they don't have the numbering system either. They give it the avoid, recommend, or essential badges. Yeah. So it's kind of similar to how ACG does it with his, you know, buy, wait, rent, that sort of system. But reviews do play a big part for me. But I also try and look at stuff like streamers on day one and like gameplay demos and impressions. And I try and combine them all into like one to see, like, get a good impression of a game.
Of how you feel about it, yeah.
Yeah, so like Total Biscuit, I know he plays a lot of strategy games. Yeah. So if he's like singing a strategy game's praise, like, you know, it's probably going to be pretty good at what it is.
Yeah.
But if like he's criticising a strategy game, you should know it's probably going to be a bad one.
I think that video game reviews and tastes in video games is all so subjective that you're never going to agree with everybody on games, and the best thing to do is align yourself with a reviewer or a critic that has similar tastes to yourself. So this is what I would try to do. I try to find someone who thinks the same as me on certain particular games, so I know that I'm kind of in tune with this person, and that when they have a decent impression of a game, it's likely to be, it's not necessarily going to be, it's likely to be the same feeling that I'm going to have towards the game. And then, like Liam, I add that to some gameplay that I watch and some maybe Metacritic reviews that I can read the very, very worst of what people think of the game, and then the very, very best of what people think of the game, and then throw that all in the cauldron, mix it all up, and then just get an idea of whether I'm going to like this game. And then based on that, like, overall it's not objective, but that overview opinion, I can then base my decision whether I should buy this game or not. I think that's the best way to do it. Is never just believe one reviewer, and never always think that anyone is right, and never assume that that the reviewers played the game to the end and that they know what the fuck they're talking about. Because one reviewer can be so biased just because they had a bad experience or something, and that, you know, it might lead you to missing out on that awesome game that you could have an awesome experience with.
Exactly. I mean, are you going to think HellBlade is a 1 out of 10 because Jim Sterling had a bug in his game?
No.
You know, that's very personal to him. I think you guys are right. ACG is a guy that I find I don't actually agree with many of his opinions when it's him personally. What I like that he does is that he reviews a game as a product. Like, let's look at the quality of the story. Let's look at, like, some things are subjective, but some things, you know, like the playability, the FPS and stuff like that are factual. And he tries to look at something as a product. Like, is it worth it? And, like, how many hours of gameplay do you get compared to how much enjoyment you get out of it? How much of that is quests? How much of that is, you know, I like that he does that, and he doesn't make it all about him. And, well, this is the big issue, isn't it? A lot of reviewers make their reviews about them. Jim Sterling is notorious for this. And you know what? I gotta say, if this sounds in any way like anti-Jim Sterling, it's not. I am a fan of Jim Sterling.
I think we all are.
We all are, yeah. He does it on purpose. He plays up to it. He's egotistical. It's a character, I get it. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is arguably, and you'll have a good time arguing with the people that think this, the best game of all time. It's one of the highest rated games of all time, and if you meet somebody that's a super fan of this, good luck telling them it's shit, because it's got a huge following, and it's caused some big waves this year, okay? Jim Sterling gave the game a 7 out of 10, which is pretty lukewarm for a AAA game, right? That's like, I mean, PC Gamer just gave Fortnite a 5, and that's made news because everyone's like, oh my god, they gave something a fucking 50 out of 100. So a 5 is trash for AAA. So 7 is kind of like, okay, you know?
Yeah.
And he gave it a 7 out of 10. He got hate. He got the fucking internet mob. Reviewing games can take its toll on you as a person. Do you guys think that one of the reasons we don't do reviews is anything to do with that, or do you think it's because we realise that it's all subjective and we try and talk about facts? What do you think the reason that we aren't personally so happy to put our opinions out there.
Well, it's not that at all. I think we have tried reviews in the past. We did Overwatch, we did Little Nightmares, but nobody watched them. And compared with the regular news type videos that we put out, why play a game for 10, 20 hours and base a video on that when we can just spend a lot less time researching. Not that we don't spend a lot of time researching, because we do, but we spend less time researching than we would do playing a game to make a review. And make content like that. It's a time thing for us. It's like we would, if we had a huge team and we had the resources, we'd love to do reviews. And if 2,000 people watch it and enjoy it, that's good for them. And we would love to be in that position where we could do that. But unfortunately, we're not in that position, and we're not doing reviews because we're scared of the backlash that we might get. We're not doing reviews because we don't have the resources to do it. It doesn't make sense to us from a production point of view.
It's a lot of time, isn't it? It's not like a film. You can't just sit and watch a film.
True.
I mean, we could review a game by playing it for 2 hours.
Yeah, but we wouldn't be doing a good service, and we'd be misleading people.
This is the point. Right? And there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. So, we just spoke about Jim Sterling being part of getting shat on by Zelda fans. Can you guys remember that? He was
it was huge.
He was getting death threats. Exactly. And there's YouTubers like Worth a Buy who will get absolutely slated in the comment section for some of his videos, and it does get to them. They'll remove their comments. They'll make videos responding to the comments, and it really gets to them. But reviews aren't just effective. They don't just affect reviewers themselves. They also can review game developers quite a lot. So I want to talk about the power of reviews. This is quite an important story and quite an important topic, because reviews do matter in not just a reputational way, in a monetary way sometimes. There's a famous story about Obsidian and Fallout New Vegas. You guys know this story?
Yeah.
If you don't know, basically Obsidian developed Fallout New Vegas. Bethesda made Fallout 3, right? And they said, if you can get a Metacritic score of 85, we will give you the royalties to this game, which is a big bonus. And in the cold, rigid, and unfair business world, they were 84. They were 1 point away. And Obsidian had to make some layoffs because of this. They were working on a project for the next gen of consoles, which, as we know, is the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, which was cancelled because of one person giving it a bad review.
1 point on the Metacritic ratings.
Exactly. So, which you could argue it was down to the wire. One person gave it was all it needed to be tipped over the edge. It was one small little blip.
If one person gave it a 9 instead of an 8, they would have got their yearly bonus.
Exactly.
It came down to that.
So do you think that this is a little bit harsh on developers? I want to know what you guys think about the developers who make these games. Do you think that it will have any long-term effects on them? Do you think that these companies give a fuck about reviews? Or?
Of course they do. I think that so much so to the fact that they might withhold review copies of games and not let review, like Bethesda, for instance. They think that especially with the internet these days, and where there's a system in place on YouTube, for example, where people can review games and put games out for review. Put a review out without even playing the full game. It's like unregulated these days. Whereas in the past, maybe you might have PC Game, you might have these professional magazines who do diligence on the game and properly review it. So it's kind of a wild west out there for reviews, and I think developers, publishers are scared of allowing people to review their game if they're not so confident in their games. And that's why this whole Bethesda no review policy has come about, because they don't allow anybody to have review copies of the games before the game's released. They want everybody to experience the game at the same time, just in case everybody shit bombs the reviews and nobody buys the game as a result. Yeah. So they're really, really scared right now, and I can see why, because it's unregulated and people don't have to be held to account for the reviews. If we should review reviews is what we should do. we should validate people's reviews to make sure that they've checked, that they've played the game to the end.
I can think of a lot of people I'd want to do that with.
A review. That's what we should do. We don't do reviews, but we should do reviews. Oh, this guy hasn't watched that.
People would watch that.
The Watchmen, isn't it? Who reviews the reviewers?
Yeah, exactly.
Who watches the Watchmen?
Oh my god, yeah. Critic the critics or whatever. I mean, the thing is with Metacritic is that it looks like businesses are looking at these numbers and making bonuses, and they're making big decisions. Like I'm saying, people were laid off. People lost their job because, you know, some guy from IGN Brazil said it was a 7 and not an 8. And it's kind of unusual to see it like that. But that being said, reviews can have the power to change things, and you don't have to be a journalist graduate to do this. So let's move on to this now. Metacritic, as you guys know, is for the critics. But what about the average Joe, the average gamer? You don't need to have a, you know, PhD or to enjoy a game, right? That's what user reviews are for. They're on Metacritic. Admittedly, I don't ever really pay attention to them, mostly because the games I like always get bad ones, which is kind of, what's that saying about me, huh? But there's also this little thing called Steam reviews. So if you don't have a PC and you're a console gamer listening, let's give you a quick rundown of what that is. Basically, on Steam, there's like a review system that works like this. You can be very positive, mixed, negative, and like very negative. And there's, when you go on a game's page, there's the overall reviews, the overall opinions, and there's the recent opinions, and that's for stuff that's like, you know, new patches and shit. And these reviews are quite important, and we've seen and we've reported on a shitload of news that's involving people turning the game around for themselves with these reviews. What I mean is Paradox Interactive. Remember those guys? Mm-hmm. What did they do? Put their prices up. How did people react? They fucking bombed the shit out of them.
Review bombed, yeah.
And what happened? One day later, they turned it round.
They got a response from the developers and they changed the pricing structure.
Yeah. Do you think giving people that much power is good? Like the opportunity for people to voice their opinions in such a way that it strikes fear into the hearts of these CEOs? Do you think this is ultimately a good thing? Or do you think people are using it for power plays and boycotts? People are boycotting Battlegrounds because of the latest patch. People who aren't happy with something will just immediately call for a boycott. Do you think that that's a good thing, or do you think that ultimately it'll cause distress to independent developers that are working hard on a game and then getting bombed for little to no good reason sometimes? What do you think?
I think it's a pretty mixed bag for me, to be honest, because on one hand, like giving power to the consumer is always better. You know, giving them the forum to voice their opinion and get, you know, like put their voice out there. That's great. But at the same time, Steam reviews are pretty useless sometimes. A lot of them are like just people making jokes or
trying to get likes so they can get the most featured review.
Posting the dank memes, as the kids call them these days.
Right.
And yeah, it's just, so it's a very good tool to have. Sadly, it's being misused by the community at the minute, I think.
It is difficult. It's a difficult one, this, because you need to give people the right to express their feelings, okay? And but there is a responsibility with the users and the players to be a bit more informed and not just jump the gun and get really agitated and, you know, annoyed by something that's happened, and try and inform yourself and calm down a little bit and try and think about it rationally, about what's happening and about everything that's going on. It's the onus is on you as a player, as a Steam review bomber, to make sure you know exactly what's going on before you get upset about it, because, you know, you can really badly affect the sale. Because if you jump on the bandwagon, you might be jumping on the bandwagon with something that you're not completely informed about, and you might be doing a huge disservice to an independent developer who might, you know, it might be his living. You know what I mean? If you make an assumption and based on that assumption, you know, get together with a group of friends or the community online and review bomb a game, and that ends up killing the game, and a developer goes out of business, then based on misinformation or like an assumption that you've made, you know, that could be hugely damaging.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you'll see games getting review bombed for stuff that's nothing even to do with the game. Like the CEO might say something, and then like that's not any indication of how good the game is. Do you know what I mean? Like, for example, Rhyme got bombed when the guy came out as an SJW or whatever. And recently, The Long Dark. More on that in a minute. The developer was victim to a bit of a review bomb recently because of an announcement for an announcement.
Okay, let me give you a backstory on this. The Long Dark has been in early access for 3 years, right? Or it had been in 3 years. It's been for years. So people were highly anticipating this game. This game is awesome. A lot of love for it in the community. Now, there was an announcement by the what's his name? Do you know? Have you got his name?
No.
All right, the developer, or like Hinterland, which is the developers. There was a guy who announced or put on social media that there will be an announcement for the game in like 10 days time or whatever it was. So everyone was like, oh my god, they're going to announce that they're launching the game. So everyone got really like highly like built up by it and really excited about it. And then he saw that this was happening. This was in an article recently. He saw that was happening and was like, oh shit. All I'm announcing is when the date of the game is going to come out and that it's going to be on consoles. Like, that's all I'm announcing, and everyone is expecting the game to be released now. So lo and behold, he couldn't withdraw his announcement for the announcement, so he went ahead, he announced that the game was going to be released on a certain date, and he got a backlash for it because everyone was disappointed.
Exactly.
They'd built their expectations up, and because of these people who personally built their own expectations up, he gets the backlash from it, and he saw Steam reviews, negative Steam reviews, go from the double digits to the triple digits for the first time ever, and like that was a huge backlash for him, and that could mean like the difference between getting a few amount of sales or loads of sales. So this is one example of how the community can get, you get so excited and get disappointed because they're in control of how excited they get and the hype that they get about a game. So maybe it was partially him to blame for generating this hype in a way, because you see Rockstar announcing Red Dead Redemption 2 with a series of tweets that like everybody gets super hyped for, and that works so well for them. Whereas this, on the other hand, it went south for him really quickly.
Exactly, and people are reviewing his game negatively because of something he did, like on Twitter or whatever social media it is. Nothing to do with the game.
Exactly.
It doesn't make the game any worse. And this is what I wonder. All this extra shit, like GTA, as you guys know, the mod thing happened recently, Open 4. And the game was getting fucking nailed for it. It's nothing to do with the game, is it? Well, like the game as a product. So that's the only problem with these things. That's why I don't really pay much attention to these user reviews, because a lot of the time it can be down to little things like that, like is the developer an SJW? Do you know what I mean? Has someone upset you on Twitter over the past week? So there's a lot of responsibility, and I just want to play that card because it is a good thing to have.
It's true,
but we need to show that side.
It is the same thing as proper reviews, like Jim Sterling. He got pissed off by one little thing and review bombed it. Essentially, it's exactly the same thing. So it's not just user reviews, and it's actual reviews as well. And this is why it's so important to actually read the details of the review. Don't just look at the score. Look at why people are upset.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's also the Prey review from IGN, Dan Stapleton, where he ran into an incredibly rare game-breaking bug, like 1 in a million chance of happening. And it just so happened to happen to him, so he gave the game a 4 out of 10, saying, "I can't finish this game because of this bug has corrupted my 32-hour save file, so I do not recommend this game to anyone." That drew so much attention. It actually got Arcane, the developers. They responded to this review, and they got like 24-hour working on trying to get this patch out. They sent him a custom save file so he could carry on his review. And he took that criticism, Dan Stapleton from IGN, he took that criticism and he reevaluated the game once it was fixed, and he bumped the score to it was like an 8.8 or something. So it shows you how, like, similar to Jim Sterling, he's on reflection realised this is something that only affected me. I should probably reevaluate my opinion of the game. But
that's his subjective experience with the game, though, and I think it's right that he gives the 4 out of 10 because that reflects his experience with the game. But is it right that people take 4 out of 10 and decide not to buy it because he had this 1 in a million game-breaking bug? I don't know. There's so many different arguments around this.
It happened quite differently. So, like with Jim Sterling's review of HellBlade, people were like, "Oh, Jim, savage as always." Yeah. But when it happened with IGN, they were like, "Oh, this just shows you how IGN is a worthless outlet," because everyone was loving Prey at the time. IGN pointed out this flaw in the game, so people were like, oh no, you're just like doing it for the clicks, aren't you?
Yeah.
Whereas Jim Sterling, they're like, oh Jim, good boy.
And that's another problem with reviews, is that people might negatively review it just to get clicks. It might just throw a load of negative words out in a review just to get people to click it and to you know, because it's a very competitive market these days with reviews.
Well, I was getting ready for work today, and I looked on the list of the HellBlade reviews, and I only had time to watch one, and I watched one that gave it a 1 out of 10.
That's it.
So there's some
experience.
proof. You know, it's interesting to see it. Half of it, yeah, people just can't accept that people don't like other stuff, or people do like stuff. That's the funny thing. We've been accused all week of being paid by PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds because we like the game.
Kingsway,
which is a thing.
Kingsway, yeah.
Kingsway. Yeah,
we like
you're
a
gonna
game,
love this
and
long
apparently
dark thing in a
people pay
minute,
us.
man. Honestly, isn't it? It's sorry to cut you off there, but
That's right.
it's a small developer that we liked the work of, and we are being paid by them. Apparently, it's one of those things. IGN suffer from that a lot.
Yeah, but I think it's what people need to realize is that everybody else has got an opinion. Everybody's got an opinion. Like, opinions are like arseholes, aren't they? Everyone's got one. Who said that?
I don't know.
So, someone famous said that, and it's true.
Right.
Everyone's got an arsehole. Everyone's got an opinion. But the thing is, like, you're never going to agree with everyone. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. You don't have to jump down their throat because they think differently towards you. You don't have to be aggressive towards someone because they have an opinion. Allow people their opinion and say, that's cool, I think differently. Don't get so upset. Just calm the fuck down, people.
Yeah, so stop listening to reviewers and let's look at Gaz's review of The Long Dark.
Yeah, I'm going to be careful how I do this now, haven't I? Given the fact that
well, yeah, let me.
We've just gone in on reviewers and like how it shouldn't be done. But yeah, again, like I'm going to talk about The Long Dark. It's not a full review. I haven't played the whole game, so that you know tells you something in itself. I don't know exactly the whole game. I've played it for over 30 hours because I played it in early access. Yeah, because it was in early access a couple of years ago when I got it. So I played it for like 29 hours, and they've since. Because that was just a sandbox mode. That's right. And they've since released on August the 1st, I think it was. It went gold, yes, you're right. And they released the Water Mute, which is it's called Water Mute, but it's
it's Winter Mute, isn't it? I think.
Is it Winter Mute?
Yeah. I have no idea.
Well,
we can.
Well, I've got Water Mute written down here. So this is like the linear experience. This is like the story mode basically, right. And this is highly anticipated. So we talked about earlier. This game is developed by Hinterland. It's this atmospheric first-person survival game. Nothing of the like of which that I've seen before. It's so atmospheric and immersive. It's like it's based in the Canadian snowy wilderness, yeah. And it's. So I'll talk a little bit about the Water Mute. It's definitely Water Mute, dude.
Okay.
A quick Google search will solve this entire issue.
We'll just hold this podcast a sec.
Hold on, guys. Won't be a sec.
Yeah.
Bear with us.
Water Mute. Yeah.
Winter Mute. Oh, apologies.
It's all right.
It was mute. It's definitely Winter Mute, dude. Cut that in. Yeah. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Winter Mute, the single player linear experience, as they call this. So this throws you in, like I said, a linear experience, and the beginning part of it is a bit of a tutorial. You get used to the mechanics of the game, how to craft, how to survive, basically, how to survive the cold and the animals, the wildlife. It's so difficult, and that's like the beauty of this game, is that it's so brutal. It's a brutal game, and it's one of those games where you don't really need a narrative because a lot of the gameplay is like emergent, right? So you might be facing it with a situation where you need to go out and hunt and get some food or forage or gather or whatever or scavenge for some shit. But you're faced with certain problems, like you might have an affliction, like you might have sprained your wrist or your ankle or something, and you might not have enough water. And there might be wolves outside, and you've got to balance all these needs and requirements up with like, how do I survive? How do I get to the next day? How do I get to the next hour? And then there's certain scenarios that you might be faced with. You might be just faced with a wolf. You might have a wolf attack or something, and then it creates a whole new set of problems. And then you've got this you're building this whole story around just surviving.
So you feel very desperate. You feel like you're barely clinging on for a lot of the time.
Exactly, and that's part of the beauty of this game. And if you like that kind of experience where you're like, well, you've got to think on your feet, how the fuck am I going to get out of this situation? If you like that kind of experience, I would definitely recommend just the sandbox mode even. I'm not talking about the
story here.
The story mode here. This is the sandbox. I mean, I played it for 30 hours in early access and I loved it. So anyway, I kind of went off topic. I was going to talk about the story mode. The story mode, I've heard criticisms about. I've heard criticisms that the story is shite, right? And it's not shite at all. It's quite unique in the fact it's not tropey at all. You don't lose your memory. You know, you're not a family member isn't kidnapped or anything. You know, you've got to save somebody. It's you go in somewhere for somebody. I'm not going to spoil it too much, but you go in somewhere for somebody. Your plane crashes, right, and you get stranded. But this person you're in a plane with has gone. You got to try and find this person, and this is the whole mystery. And this is what pushes you through the story. Is like there's this mystery because this person wanted you to go somewhere for a certain reason, and now this person's gone. So you don't know why you were going there, and you don't know where this person's gone. So you've got to find out all these answers, and that's what pushes you through the story. And I think it's kind of unique. I like stories where there's a mystery behind it, and I like that you're trying to uncover crumbs of the plot, basically, of what the fuck is going on here. So, and I think that's really good. I think personally, I think that is a really good story.
What I was wondering was, is it a bit like how a walking simulator is, where you're discovering the mystery through reading journals, or do you meet other people along the way, or is that spoiling it?
Well, from my experience in the first 4 hours or so, there are a lot of NPCs. A lot of the villages and towns or whatever and houses, they're all deserted, right? Because there's been this apocalypse or whatever. We don't know what that is. It's another mystery. It's something that you can discover, which again is awesome. But there's this one NPC that I've met, and she tells me about what's been going on. She doesn't know everything. She doesn't answer all of my questions. And there's the certain side quests involved with getting these answers out of her, right? So you got to do her a favor, the old
classic side quest.
You got to do her a favor, so she does you a favor, but kind of thing, and you can see how that's going to play out. But it's voice acted by the dude.
Yeah, David Hayter, the guy, Solid Snake, the original Solid Snake. I recognize that voice, and I was like, whoo! Yeah,
so it's a solid voice actor, but not all the lines are voice acted, right? This NPC, the main quest and the main bits are voice acted, but then once she tells you the main bit, you've got a dialogue wheel where you choose what to discuss with her, a la Fallout, you know what I mean? Fallout 4. So that part you've got to read yourself. There's no dialogue to that. But then again, this is an independent studio. This is an independent game. Again, you've got to make allowances for this type of thing because they don't have the huge budget, and they're selling you the game at knockdown prices, not a AAA price of a game. So you can excuse that when you're looking for value for money's worth. Like you might want it to be fully voice acted, but it's not practical, and they'd run into troubles. Like they'd run out of money if they tried to implement everything that would make the game ideal. So they've got to make cutbacks somewhere, basically. The key things that stand out for me in this game is that just the atmosphere, just the setting, the scene. It's like the music. It is awesome. Like just from loading up the title screen, the music itself, it sets the scene before you even started playing the game. It's like really tense and atmospheric. And a lot of the game, right, is there's no music at all. It's completely silent, and you just listen to the wind howling and like the wolves howling. Or like wolves howling. Yeah, everything's howling in this game. And then you walk and you hear the snow crumpling underneath your feet or whatever, and it's so tense because you don't know whether a bear's going to attack you or a wolf's going to attack you. But then like you might be reaching a peak on a mountain, and then the music kicks in, and it gives you like a spine tingling moment where you're just like overlooking this whole valley, and it's just like there's just like a connection. There's like emotional moment that happens naturally, or appears to be naturally, but it's like wow,
very seamless. It just
and it's atmospheric to the point where you're like, yes, I'm really invested in this game. I'm really invested in the setting and the story. And like I said, this is my personal experience with the game. So it's not going to apply to everyone. People, it's a slow game. Some people will not like that. It's not an action game. You're not going to get loads of action out of it. It's more about, it's a thinking man's game, I guess. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. It's not an action game as such.
With the early access being 3 years in the making, the story has come along, and I believe it's episodic. That's right, isn't it?
It is episodic. They've released 2 episodes of 5 to begin with in the
so
story
you've already got
mode.
2.
So we've got 2 episodes to get our teeth into. I don't know off the top of my head when the next 3 episodes are coming, but they are going to be soon. And they are supporting this game beyond release. They've released 4 patches, I think, since it was released on Monday last week already. So there were, community feedback, there was bugs or whatever. They've patched them. They're working around the clock to fix it. So the support for this game is really high end.
Is there anything else that's been added since? Maybe a lot of people, because it's been around for 3 years, like you say, there might be people listening that have bought it a long time ago, played it. The story modes, surely you're really selling it here. It sounds like it's worth coming back to, but in case you're still not interested about the story, has there been any improvements to the sandbox mode, or is there another mode or anything like that? Is there any other additions?
Yeah, that's been the addition of like challenges, right? So you get these set piece scenarios where you might be faced with lasting 24 hours in an area with not a lot of food or something, or there's a blizzard outside, or you might be faced with a bear attack or something, how to survive after a bear attack. So there are these different challenges. So you've got sandbox mode, you've got challenges mode, and you've got the linear experience, which makes up for a really value for money package in my eyes. Like, there's a lot of gameplay in this game.
Yeah, you could probably just play one of them and it would be worth it, right? You could, if you're just into sandbox, you could just play sandbox mode. If you only want to play the story, like if there was a sandbox mode for like something like Firewatch, I'm sure people would play that.
I absolutely loved this sandbox mode because of the emerging gameplay, because you make your own stories as you go along, because it's an open world kind of thing, and you can do what you want, but the challenges you face will come because the world is so brutal, and I love that about it. And the sandbox mode itself, it's worth 30 hours to me. Like, I absolutely loved it. And like, I did actually gameplay. I did a Let's Play of it back when this channel was still Gareth Evans Gaming.
Yeah.
And I did some Let's Plays of it back then. And, just thinking about like the experience, just approaching a wolf and knowing that you're already fucked up as it is, you've got no food or anything, and you're on your last legs, and this wolf's coming up at you, and you're thinking, how the fuck do I get out of this situation? And every time now I experience a wolf, I get a tingle down my spine. It's like, oh shit, I know this can end so badly. How the fuck am I going to think on my feet and get out of this situation? It's so good.
Some Liam Neeson shit, like in the
Sounds
grey.
like the grey, doesn't
The
it?
grey, yeah. I know it's probably putting you on the spot a little bit, but who would you recommend this game to? Like, fans of something like maybe like this War of Mine? That's a very desperate game where you're kind of on the edge of death at any time. Or is it more sort of for people who are like Firewatch or The Walking Dead or something?
Well, I think a combination, because it's like Firewatch, but it's not, the story and the dialogue isn't as good as Firewatch, but the setting, the graphics aren't as good as Firewatch, but the setting itself and the gameplay, it's kind of like Firewatch but with more gameplay, right? So you've got to like crafting things, you've got to find better clothes, and you got to fix up your clothes, you got to fix your weapons, you got to make sure that you gather enough resources to survive the night and shit. So there's a lovely like survival element to it, which you don't have in games like Firewatch. But this War of Mine is a good example of the kind of game mechanics that you need to gather resources to make sure that you survive to the next day.
You're always running out of one thing, aren't you? Either bandages or water or food.
Yeah,
is it. So I'm assuming this game's got all them in there, like food and water.
Yeah,
and
exactly. Yeah,
warmth, I imagine, is a big one.
You got because the weather itself it's its own like personality. It can be really cold, it can be blizzardy, it can be really foggy, and which tends to be kind of warm. When it gets dark, you're fucked. You need a light source. It's the weather itself is a challenge in itself, and surviving against the weather is just one minor challenge in a sea of like a load of different challenges.
Yeah, sounds awesome. Sounds like if you want a challenging game, but at the same time, immersive, and you have moments of like beauty, like you're saying, where you're in the wilderness and you've got all this music.
So to sum up my thoughts of this game, it is brutal, it is atmospheric, it is immersive, and it is challenging. And for them reasons, I love it. But it's not for everybody. Yeah,
that's awesome. I think you've really sold it to me. In fact, you did sell it to me because I bought the game before when it came out, because you were telling me that I'd like it, and I've installed it, but I keep getting called in by other games, and I need to dedicate some time to it, I think. But yeah, so
and
that's it.
just before I go, don't listen to anybody who has criticisms of the game saying that you can't jump or shit like that. If you've got a huge backpack with like 50 kilograms in, you're not going to be able to jump anyway. And there's like there's people who reviewed the game, talking about reviews as this is like a review topic. People reviewed the game and slated it because of certain like things that annoyed them about the game. Just look past the technicalities. Like, try and find something that you love about the game. This game can be loved. You could love this game, but if you can't look past minor technical things like you can't jump, so I hate this game. But if you can't look past that, don't buy the game. But if you're looking for a game that you could possibly love, despite its flaws, because it does have flaws, then you should check it out.
All right, guys. So thanks very much. A hard sell on The Long Dark, and it's really made me want to play it. Right, okay, before we delve into the comments this week, let's go into our favourite weekly segment, Fact of the Week. Play the jingle. This week's fact is courtesy of Corey in the House. Corey in the House on a DS contained text suggesting a French release for the game, but it never came out. Okay, so moving on to the comments section then. We've got 10 comments this week, and I just want to say a big thanks to everybody that sent them in. We have been working on our FAQ section, and we're about 90% done. We think we've got it all covered, so we'll be posting that on Patreon in the next day or two, maybe even by the time you're reading this, just to sort of help us, help you, help us.
Just not ask the same questions over and over.
Yeah.
You can check the FAQ, and if we've answered it in the past or if it's on the FAQ, then you'll be able to see it more about. You won't have to ask the same questions over.
Yeah, exactly. So first question this weekend, leading, is Adam W, and he says, what are a few things on your bucket list? Death, straight away. Nice one, Adam.
Yeah, this very deep. This question is like jumping into it and from the deep end today.
Gaming bucket list or life in general?
I think he means just life in general. So thanks, Adam, for reminding us that our mortal coil will eventually come to an end.
Expire.
Yeah, I think
you're all going to die. What are you going to do before you die?
Yeah, I've always wanted to go to Japan.
Same here.
Studio Ghibli Museum, and of course on the bucket list is play Skate 4, which
Skate 4.
They need to make that, so no pressure, guys. But you've got a good 60 odd years yet. That's about it, really. I wanted to play abroad musically, and I did do that. So I've done that, and it was quite underwhelming, really. So yeah, Japan, and that's about it, really. What about you guys?
A lot of mine's just travel based. Like so many places I want to go to, like Japan, China, Hong Kong, like Vietnam. I wanted to go around, like so many, like
Asia,
pretty much Asia, and all America as well. I've never been to America. I'd love to do like a state to state tour.
Yeah,
it was this weird thing me and my friend had back in high school where we said we'd do a fast food tour of America.
Yeah,
do like A to Z of restaurants or something.
There's a program, Diners, Drive-ins and Dives or something, and they do that, don't they?
Kind of like that, yeah.
What are you guys?
Yeah.
Bucket list. I don't know if I have a bucket list in a traditional sense. I guess I think, I'm the boring one with no bucket list. I guess I'm too old for a bucket list.
Too old for a bucket list. Close to comfort.
Yeah. It's like I don't want to think about my own death.
Stephen Hughes, great show, guys. Jim Sterling.
Who's he?
Recently uploaded a video about a bunch of garbage, low-effort games showing up on PSN. How do you feel about this? Do you think games like Life of Black Tiger have a place on consoles, or should that type of shite stay put on Steam? Love the new logo, by the way. Thanks, Stephen.
Cheers, Steve.
I think, Jim Sterling's career has been diving into the Steam Greenlight shite for ages, and I think that's awesome. And it's funny to see him do it on the PlayStation Store, because in the UK, it is quite well regulated. You don't get a lot of this shit. He's in America, right? So a lot of the stuff on there is utterly shit. And how can you fucking say, PlayStation Network, you're not putting crossplay on your games because you're worried about the quality of life that your fucking gamers have, and then at the same time you're giving them fucking asset flips and ports of mobile games full price? Fuck off. I think it's stupid. I think they're aiming it for people that want to get trophies as well. Like, there's a game where you can get like a platinum trophy in like 4 minutes or something.
I think they removed that one though.
They
actually took that one down.
What is the one where you play as like a jar of mayo? There's just games like that. They're just trophy grabbing, and I think, I don't think it should stay put on Steam. I think they shouldn't exist. I think there needs to be some fucking quality control, especially on Steam, because it makes it look really bad for like indie developers that are working their arse off, and then people are going to think it's going to be one of them fucking
Asset flips, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what you guys think. I'm sure no one's really in favour.
No, that's good. That's.
I think they should definitely get rid of that shit as soon as possible.
Yeah. If anyone disagrees, let us know why. Thanks. Paul Dagnall says, "Hello lads. If you could only buy one game for the rest of this year that you don't already own, what would it be? It can be out already, or it can be out later this year. Thanks, lads." I love this question. I think it's one of the best ones.
Well, this is a tricky one because which games are going to be released this year? Like, which ones have been pushed back? That's the question. You never know.
Ooh, yeah, but we're going to get Red Dead, right? But no,
yeah, Red Dead's off the table. So is God of War. So is
Far Cry's out now later on. And
stuff. Far Cry. I would say Days Gone.
Yeah, it's a good one, that.
Days Gone for me.
Yeah. I can't remember if that's even been pushed back. That's what I mean. Yeah, you're right. It's on.
I mean, I don't know whether it's going to come out this year. It might not, but it's due to come out this year. I believe, at the time of recording. So I will say Days Gone.
Yeah, strong bet. For me, it's Divinity Original Sin 2. Definitely. Like, if I could only buy one game all year, even if I had to sell all the games that I've got this year, I'd do that. I'm really looking forward to it. I've been watching it closely, and yeah, just well excited for that, aren't I?
I honestly really don't know, but as like a placeholder, I'll just say Uncharted, because I love Uncharted, and to see like the last installment of the series, I wouldn't want to miss that at all. So
I think that too as
awesome.
Well. Yeah. All right. So yeah,
that too.
Yeah, Uncharted. Yeah, that's gonna be. That's real soon as well.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, cheers, Paul. I'd like to know what everyone else is thinking as well. Is anyone looking forward to the new Call of Duty game or Destiny or something? Because they are pretty big. A lot of people on the low have pre-ordered them, I've noticed. Morton, what's up, man? Are any of you guys into philosophy? Do you have any favourite philosophers? Mine is Marcus
Aurelius.
Thank you. Aurelius. His meditations are amazing.
I'll jump off on this one. I'm a huge fan of philosophy. I've read a lot. And Marcus Aurelius, famous Stoic philosopher. He was an emperor of Rome, in fact. Awesome. I love his meditations. No, I love his meditations, and in line with Stoic philosophy, Seneca, Epictetus, two of my other favourites. Stoic philosophy I could talk with you about for days. Marcus Aurelius, my three favourite philosophers as it happens. So yeah, check those out if you like Marcus Aurelius. Seneca, Epictetus, awesome.
What are we going to say about that?
I mean, I read a lot of like political philosophy, being, you know, I've got a politics degree and shit like that.
John Stuart Mill, that kind of thing.
Yeah, like Thomas Hobbes, Immanuel Kant, like, you know, Marx is an obvious one.
Classics.
I wouldn't say I have any particular favourite, but I am familiar with quite a lot of them. I think Thomas Hobbes always struck out at me just how cold and brutal his philosophy was. He believed like life was literally just cold. Was it cold, short, and brutish?
Yeah,
was his quote.
Bella omnium contra omnis, like everyone at war against
the social
everyone else,
contract.
Right?
Yeah, and a lot of that stood out to me because it really pointed out to me how pessimistic a lot of my like classmates were at uni, because a lot of them like really subscribed to that philosophy.
Right.
So, so Thomas Hobbes, he's not my favourite, but he really stood out.
He's memorable, yeah.
Yeah.
There we go, Morton.
Great question.
Sure if you asked this question, you probably wouldn't expect a detailed answer as that, surely. So you got your money's worth for that one. Fucking hell. Even I was like, whoa, that's impressive. All right, so next up, Ginger Tube. Have any of you guys played Sundered yet? Interested to know your thoughts on it, especially given Gaz's apparent love of roguelikes. Gaz's newfound love of roguelikes.
Yeah. Obviously, he's being a bit sarcastic with that because, roguelikes, obviously.
Gaz has discovered something new in this.
I don't mind them, but it puts me off. If I know it's a roguelike, it'll put me off, especially in an adventure game. That's all.
Sundered, actually, I haven't played it.
I haven't played that.
I know it's like Metroidvania from the guys who made... I can't remember. It might be Guacamelee. Don't quote me on that because I'm not sure.
All right, I won't quote you.
But... yeah, I've heard lots of good things about it, but it's meant
one
to
of
be...
them. I've heard a lot about that and Dead Cells.
Yeah.
And then I heard a lot of good stuff about Hollow Knight as well. And then I played Hollow Knight, and I just don't think any other game that's a Metroidvania should have come out this year since then.
There's been a lot of Metroidvanias this year.
Fuck me, yeah, but Hollow Knight.
You love it?
Oh, man.
It's hard to beat Hollow Knight.
Yeah, good luck with this. You're Sundered, Dead Cells. I'm going to give them both a chance. Dead Cells is next on my list after The Long Dark, but I will get onto Sundered. So, I'll come back to you. I'll find you on Patreon and I'll let you know then. Thanks anyway, though. Naked Chef. What are each of you guys' most disappointing game cancellations during development besides Scalebound? I'm assuming he means StarCraft Ghosts. Anyone? On that note, what happened to that game Capcom showed off during PS4 launch with the Knight and the Dragon?
Oh, Deep Down, I remember that one.
Also, have any of you played Battle for Middle-earth? Great RTS, in my opinion. Battle for Middle-earth is a great RTS. Me and Mike love it. But back to the question at hand. Can you remember a game that was cancelled and you guys were like, no, don't do that?
There was a Daredevil game they were working on that got cancelled, and that looked really cool.
Yeah, Unseen 64 did a thing, didn't he?
It was like, it looked like Batman Arkham, but with Daredevil characters, like Kingpin and Elektra, Bullseye, and it had a great concept to it. Like, you would have gone around the world stopping crimes, just beating shit out of criminals, stuff like that, and it looked like it had a lot of potential. I have to.
That's a good answer. Pretty underground. I'm gonna go with just Silent Hills.
Oh yeah,
Junji Ito, Hideo Kojima, Del Toro. It could have been amazing. It's still
you were the chosen one.
It's still too soon to talk about it. It's god damn. But finding out that to find out that everyone's on board with Death Stranding, apart from Junji Ito, who's the one I'm most excited about, and he's the only one that isn't confirmed. It means that I kind of still have got a little bit of faith, but that was sad. I love Silent Hill games as well. What about you guys?
Yeah, I was so disappointed with the Scalebound being cancelled.
Yeah. I know you love your teenage guys in Beats headphones.
No, I couldn't give less of a shit about that game, to be honest.
Yeah. All right. Well, Vinny Bartels is next, and he says, "You're battling each other for control of the channel, and it's a dance battle. You get to pick one video game character to be your champion, but they can't come from a dance or music game. With the fate of the channel at stake, who is representing you?"
I'm going to say Eddie Gordo from Tekken. He can dance like it's no one's business. That's his martial art is literally dance fighting.
Yeah.
So he's not from a dancing game, but he can dance.
Yeah.
Eddie Gordo.
Eddie Gordo was so cheap that even the answer with Eddie Gordo in is cheap.
Yeah.
He would just name it cheap.
I know it is.
I would pick Ricky Maru from the video game that you may have heard of called Tenchu, because he's a ninja, and ninjas are very good at moving fast and accurately and agile, and he would slice anyone to death secretly.
We're talking dancing, we're not talking about fighting.
Oh yeah.
Like, you both picked fighters here, guys. Come on.
Eddie Gordo can dance.
Eddie Gordo is a dancer, Ricky Maru's a ninja. They can do pretty much everything.
I don't really have an answer. I don't think anybody who I've played as would be a good dancer.
I was going to say, when you're playing a game, you don't really think of them and think, would they be a good dancer?
I like the question, though. The question is awesome.
Question.
It's kind of a bit close to home sometimes, fighting for control of the channel, but
yeah, especially with this guy's a fucking host. Right, Vinny, the question is, it was decent. I think we need to think about that one to do it more justice. DJEP's next. He says, given the fact that video game companies are trying to milk the consumers dry, regardless of how we feel, do you think there is any right way to do it, like bumping up the full price of a AAA game? Is it possible to milk the consumer without shitting on them?
Milk them and shitting them, that's the old...
the old classic combo that no one wants, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't know, just don't milk them. That's the whole point. Just don't do it.
I think if you put a good enough game out, and you polish your game off, you make sure that it's finished, you give it enough content, and you make sure that it's a really value for money package. I haven't got a problem with paying a little bit more for a game outright. AAA games in this country might be £40-45. £50 is too much for a game. I think, why, like Fortnite, why are they charging £50 for that game? Or it is £50, isn't it?
Yeah, it was one of the packs is £50.
It's okay, that's a bad example, but I'd be thinking, why are they charging that much for a game? But if a game came out and reviewed like awesomely and it was all, it was 9 out of 10s and it was brilliant, then I'd pay £50. I'd quite happily, if I'm getting value for money, pay more for a game. Don't give me this shit like, I'm going to cut off some content for the game and charge an extra £10 for it or £20 for it, which doesn't give you value for money because it's only a small part of the game, but you're paying like half the amount that the game's worth for it. Like, don't give me that bullshit. We all know what you're up to. Like, you're milking us and shitting on us at the same time.
Yeah,
but that's how I feel. I'd pay more. I'd pay £60 for a decent game that was, if I knew it was going to last me.
Yeah.
And it was an awesome package. I don't know. That's just how I feel.
I think really they should stop doing so many sequels, stop dumbing down games, stop making them open world. You look at like Horizon Zero Dawn, that was, £40 on release, no microtransactions. It's got a single expansion pack coming out this November, and it's like the biggest IP launch of this year so far.
Yeah.
Because it was a fresh, original idea.
Yeah.
That's what people seemingly want these days.
Yeah, exactly.
New world, yeah.
Exactly. I think that ties into my answer, which is, if you are going to milk or get more money, do an expansion properly. Don't, like you're saying, Gaz, don't cut out a bit of the game. They were doing it right 15 years ago. Like, remember, like Age of Empires and Age of Mythology, or The Sims. You had the game.
The expansion pack.
You had a proper expansion that wasn't like The Sims Pets didn't feel like a part of The Sims that they'd cut out. Age of Mythology, the Titans, like expansions. Expansions felt like expansions. The Witcher Blood and Wine, it feels like an expansion. It's a whole new world. This new Horizon thing they got going on, it feels like a complete overhaul of the game. So I think if you're going to do it that way.
Yeah.
But just do it properly.
Yeah.
Don't make it a fucking season pass either, you dickhead.
I think the big tip-off for people is that if they announce this DLC before the game, or expansions before the game's even been released, or they're working on, before they've even finished working on the game itself, they're working, like Ark for an example, they've got an expansion to that game before the game is out of early access. That is just, everyone knows that's milking now, and the money grabbing.
The game was conveniently delayed as well the other day.
Don't get, let's not talk about that too much.
Exactly. So
people cottoning on now, so they just need to be fucking straight down the line, be honest with people, and do things right.
Exactly. So there you go. Hope that answers your question, DJep. Stephen Beaufort Jones, Beaufort says, cheers for answering my question, guys, but I forgot to ask the most important question. What did you get pulled over for? Well, for those that don't know, we had a little pretty good gaming excursion a couple of weeks ago. We did a 140-mile round trip to go and see the film Dunkirk.
It was 140 mile for Mike because he's from Bangor, so it's like 30 miles to here. So
it's a bit short.
It's a bit short for us. It's not that long.
Okay. So we went on a long ass fucking trip.
It's like a 70-mile round trip.
It was like an hour and a half either way.
An hour and a half journey each way to see fucking Dunkirk in Manchester because it was on a massive screen.
On 70mm film as well.
IMAX.
How critics say it should be seen.
Yeah, and if you follow us on Twitter, like you should, because we tell you every video, we got our Twitter handles there, so you should do it. You might have noticed that we were pulled over by the police, and the reason for that is quite shit, actually, isn't it? It's just that Mike's
it's not that great.
Mike's taillight was out.
It was raining.
It was real bad weather, and the police officer said, like, I couldn't see you in that weather, but they fucking could, because if they couldn't see us, how would they have pulled us over? Anyway, so they were like, they pulled us over and they were just grilling Mike about his car. They thought he was on drugs because he was so nervous.
He's going to love you for saying that.
Yeah, well, he shouldn't have missed an ocean. And it was so funny. And yeah, we were quite delayed for a while. They wouldn't let us drive home. They escorted us to like the petrol garage, and we had to change the light of the car, and it was all hot mode. And then when she was leaning on the window, Mike's window then wouldn't go up. So I'm not saying that the police broke his car, but anyway. So I hope that answers your question. I wish it was something more exciting, but it wasn't. It was just that. And finally, we've got a bumper edition question here from Jackson Renahan, and this is the last question of today, guys. So let's go out on a bang. Hey guys, this question is going to change depending on who's there to answer it. Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys individually. So Liam first. Liam mentioned he was watching Death Note whilst playing Final Fantasy 12. What do you think of it? Is it your first anime?
So I'll start with what I think. It's good. It's good so far. The main character's a bit of a dick. I mean, he wants to rule the fucking world and everything. But no, that was not my first anime. The first anime I watched, I suppose you could say technically it was like Pokemon or something when I was little.
Yeah.
But if you say my first like proper anime I watched as an adult, it was, I think, Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, the TV show.
Yeah.
Which I really did enjoy. Like, love it to death. So yeah, it's not my first.
You just watched Cowboy Bebop as well, didn't you?
I'm still actually watching
it. Oh, you're still watching it?
I haven't finished it.
Right, so that's one for Gaz. Back when you played Persona 5, it sounded like you were getting a bit of a culture shock with the whole anime aesthetic and all that. What do you think of it now?
What do I think of anime now? It's the same as normal. I don't really watch much anime. I'm not against watching anime. I do like the aesthetic. I like it for cutscenes in games, especially because it's a really great way to do a cutscene without going all out on graphics and shit. Because it's not, it doesn't have to be highly detailed or whatever. So it's a good way of doing it. Anime, I'm just nonplussed about it, to be honest. It's like neither here nor there. I probably watched more anime when I was a kid, as in it was a cartoon that I'd watch.
Everyone watched Dragon Ball, right?
Dragon Ball Z and shit, maybe.
Never really paid much attention, so I'm not a fan.
Yeah,
I don't dislike it either.
It's got like a proper. Some people just only watch anime, don't they?
Pretty much,
so it's like, you know, Mike doesn't strike me as someone who'd have watched anime. Am I right? There's a running joke because I always mention Studio Ghibli or Studio Ghibli, you actually pronounce it, but I just say Studio Ghibli. Anyway, I always make this running joke about everything being related to Studio Ghibli, and it pisses Mike off. And he's always like, "Oh, it's just Studio Ghibli, though, isn't it?" So he's not watched one. That is on my bucket list. Make Mike watch a fucking Studio Ghibli film. But he's just recently watched Attack on Titan. I think he's watched the whole of the first season now, and he was enjoying it. He kept saying it was very anime, which is kind of what you want from anime.
He said it was shit but good at the same time.
Yeah, he says that a lot of times people going, I want to die, and yeah. And then if Jake's there, what's your favourite anime? Mine's Psycho-Pass. Highly recommend it. I don't know. I don't watch all that much, to be honest. Serial Experiments Lane, Elfen Lied. They're probably the two that I remember the most. I'm going to go for Serial Experiments Lane because it's severely underrated.
The names of them are just so weird, aren't they?
Shite, aren't they? Yeah, that's
probably. I didn't say shit.
No,
somebody who watches anime said they were shite. Yeah, I'm just saying they're weird, they're unconventional, aren't they?
And are needlessly complex as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like anime TV shows, Serial Experiments Lane, anime films. There's loads of them. I love them. Like Akira, Ghost in the Shell. Obviously, Your Name that came out last year, I fucking love that. Well underrated, and I'm well annoyed that didn't get Oscar nominated. But Studio Ghibli, innit? It's just Studio Ghibli. That's it. I love them. They're my favourites ever. Princess Mononoke is probably the best film ever. It's one of them anyway. It's probably in my top 3.
I don't even know who Studio Ghibli are, I'll be honest.
Exactly. He's getting a lecture after this is over. And on that note, guys, that's it for another podcast. Mike is back next week. We'll swap it round. So remember to check back for some more fun podcast extravaganza. We've also got another exciting fact of the week. Cheers very much for staying tuned. We will definitely be seeing you on the next one. Bye for now.
See you.